evening. Welcome to the Glazov Gang. Tonight, a very special episode with a very special guest, the one and only Nonie Darwish, who is a modern-day freedom fighter, the author of many books, including her recent book, The Devil We Don't Know, The Dark Side of Revolutions in the Middle East. Nonie, welcome to the program.
My pleasure. Jamie, you are known in Australia. I just came back from Australia.
I love to hear this stuff.
People were asking me about Jamie Glazov, and I had to tell them, I know him, he's my friend.
Oh, really? There was a lot of people?
Two different people who didn't know each other were talking about the Glazov gang.
Okay, fantastic. And so that's what this show, why we've gathered here today.
Yes.
It's Jamie Glazov is my friend, and you're going to be talking about all the reactions.
Hi to the people in the land down under.
Okay, you just came back from Australia from a conference?
Yeah.
Okay, and people are watching the Glazov gang?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. I didn't make you say that, right, Nonie?
No, actually, I told you that.
Okay, and we are here for a very serious discussion this evening, and one you don't ordinarily or normally hear or think about or study, or at least for most people, I would say, the connection between language and totalitarianism and freedom. And Kai Chen was discussing this with us on a very recent episode about Chinese linguistics and how they curtail the attempt towards individualism and freedom. Tonight we're going to speak about the Arabic language and how it stifles a movement of the people who read and speak it towards freedom. Nonie, why don't you begin?
Arabic language really is not one language. A lot of people, especially who don't speak the language, they think it's one language. Arabic is divided into several different languages depending on the region. Like Egyptians have their own dialect with their own vocabulary, and Syrians have a different accent. It's not just an accent, even the words. For instance, the word car in Egypt is called Arabiya. In Syria, it's called Sayyara. So it's a totally different word. It sounds different, it's written different.
It's not like just a different dialect?
No, it's not a different dialect. It's
just
a totally different language.
Okay.
And then there's the different dialects that are very limited in vocabulary, really. And then there's the classical Arabic, which is the language of the more intellectual, but nobody's comfortable speaking it. So nobody speaks it unless you are writing a book or on an important speech or show. And it's almost like going to a ball and wearing a very fancy dress.
This is the one you speak, right?
No.
Okay.
I actually have a hard time. Okay. And not a lot of Arabs are not very comfortable speaking it. So this is the problem with the Arabic languages. Different locations have different languages. I won't call it, accent. It's different words, totally different words.
Okay, like 1 second. I'm sorry for interrupting. So sometimes when you meet somebody from the Arab world, they are actually speaking in such a way in Arabic where you don't understand what they're saying?
Yes.
Okay, and they don't understand what you're saying?
The Arabic from Egypt is more well known because we had the movie industry, and the Egyptian language was kind of spread. It's more understood because of the movie. Okay. But I have a real hard time understanding an Algerian person or a Moroccan. So it takes me a while to understand what they're saying. So Arabic language is not one language. It has various colloquial accents, and then the classical, which nobody wants to use. And you're kind of forced to use. It's almost, it's hard. And why is that? The reason is the Arabs conquered the region in the 7th century. And the region did not speak Arabic. Egypt was not an Arabic-speaking country. When it was conquered by the Arabs in the 7th century, we were forced to speak Arabic, the language of the Quran, just like many other regions. And we incorporated the Arabic with the local language and became a kind of a soup. And each region developed that. So there is a hard time now the Arabic language is in crisis. And that's not my opinion. That's the opinion of Arab linguists. They are trying to form an Arabic language dictionary. And they're having a hard time because which word are you going to use? Tarabeza, which is table, or tabla, or tableya?
I don't know.
Table.
Are you asking
It's
me?
three words for the same thing.
Okay.
And more accents have, more regions have different words. So it's very hard. The Turks solved that problem in the early 20th century by adopting Latin wording. And but there is a problem with the Arabic language.
Okay, so Nonie, now, thank you. Sorry, I apologize for interrupting. Now, lead us into how this stifles and creates a huge obstacle for Arab culture and society to learn the notions of individualism and democracy.
Absolutely, absolutely.
How does this, because everything's so scattered? Or?
You know what, Jamie? Language represents the culture. And any language on earth represents the culture that was produced from it.
Right.
And some cultures provide a language that has more freedom of exploring. It can go where places that are taboo by other cultures. So some cultures venture into the language.
So for instance, in English, the word I is in capitals. Me,
Yes.
I, the individual.
Yes.
Right?
And for instance, in Arabic, the Arabic language does not have any word for the word compromise. Because in Arabic, the value system is about conquering. So there are many words for the word conquering, but no word for compromise.
I see. And now, but when you say many words, tie that in for us where you're saying there's not just one Arabic, there's all these different languages within. How does that interweave with this problem?
As a result of that, your mind, your psychological condition does not go to areas of compromise.
Okay.
So it limits your ability when you're only Arabic speaking, limits your ability to comprehend, and it really it splits your mind into the colloquial and the classical, and it becomes very hard to express yourself. And that's why when I was growing up in Egypt, we spoke at home like every sentence was half English, half Arabic. Some of my friends were, the sentence was half French, half Arabic. And it's very difficult. And a lot of linguists, intellectuals in Egypt today are talking about that problem, which is how can we develop society without developing the language? The Islamists are resisting any kind of change. But because
they want the people divided. If people are divided by language, then they can't really get a notion of themselves.
Yeah, well, education in general, to be intellectual and to read whatever you want to read is resisted. It's resisted by the society. I mean, there is control over the minds of the people. So, as a result, there is control of the language. Where your mind can go is controlled. And so there is a crisis. There is dual thinking also, because people think in the classical sense in some ways, and then they think colloquially in some ways, and then it is that's from the linguistic side, there is a problem.
Wait, but this creates a bit of a splintering with each person, because if your language isn't unified, you're thinking differently, it splinters you as a person.
Absolutely.
And then it stifles the ability to be a real individual who can actually form social contracts with other individuals.
Absolutely.
Right?
And so the crisis of progress in Arab culture today and Arab political system is also a reflection of the language, because language is the instrument of development. I mean, you develop your thought process through language. And when your instrument of development is handicapped, your thinking gets to be affected as well. There is a link between progress as a whole, linguistically, culturally, politically, and there is a challenge. And some people in actually Egypt and Lebanon, linguists, are even discussing the possibility of having to resort to the Latin alphabet like Turkey, eventually. That some people think it's inevitable. But the problem is Arabs have a lot of pride in their language. They are resisting the impact of the West by hook or crook. It's a matter of pride. So they are, wherever they go, they want to force Arabic language. As a matter of fact, in some areas of Europe and the United States, when Muslims congregate, they want the second language of the public schools to be Arabic and not Spanish or French or what we understand to be the second language in public schools in America. Some Muslims in the West are trying to force Arabic. And that's also, it's a reflection of their pride in their culture, in their religion. And just as much as Islam and its Sharia is handicapping society from progress, the Arabic language is handicapping the Arabic society from progress.
Now, and thank you, Nonie, but what's also very interesting is how language can be used as a weapon. So in terms of the Arabic now being taught in America, this is actually a weapon by the Islamists to defeat our society. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely.
Because it is starting to be taught.
Like I said, Arabic language is the language of the Quran. And when they conquered Egypt and even Persia, when the Arabs conquered Persia, they wanted to force Arabic on the Persians. But the Persians, they got away with keeping their language, but they still used Arabic alphabet. So I can read Persian, but I can't understand a word. But all the alphabet, I know the Persian alphabet. It's very similar. So if you go to Afghanistan, they have the Arabic alphabet. And it's all because of the Quran. The Quran forced a language on all this region that handicapped them. So they didn't only handicap us with the Quran and Sharia, Islamic law, but they forced on us a foreign language that now is forced on us, and it's even though it's been 1400 years, it did not accomplish the progress that we are able to accomplish, and the handicap comes from the Arabic language itself.
Nonie, let me ask you this as the show unfortunately winds down. I come from a Russian background, and I can say that when I speak Russian, when I want to express my love and emotions, in Russian, it's a very loving language, and emotions come out very easily and with a lot of sentimentality. And I'm not saying this isn't possible in English, but it's a different realm, and it's difficult sometimes to express that love of the heart in English in the same way. This is where I'm going. As a person that came from slavery and apartheid and totalitarianism, and that began to speak English in America as a free woman, when you speak to some of people back in Egypt in Arabic, do you somewhere see Arabic constraining you a little bit in terms of the person that you've become?
Absolutely.
Can you explain that a bit?
First of all, Arabic has a beauty and a rhythm that is that's beautiful. Actually,
poetic.
Very poetic. When Muslims, when they read the translation of the Quran, they feel very embarrassed, because the beauty of the Quran is almost in the rhythm of the language.
Untranslatable.
But it is translatable. But the translation shows.
I mean, the rhythm is not translatable.
Yeah, the translation proves that the intellectual value is so low, but the the intellectual value of the Quran is, in my opinion, very low. But the beauty of the rhythm
That's what I
is
mean.
high.
Right.
And that's why...
And it's lost in the translation.
Yeah. And it can't be translated, which is the rhythmic part. That's rhythm.
Yes, yeah.
But
the message can be translated.
The message is translated, and when it's translated, many Muslims feel that it doesn't include the emotional part that we have. But it really proves that the language really is empty of intellect and more of a beauty of
how it sounds.
How it sounds. And that's what I like about when I speak Arabic. When I hear music, it's very emotional for me. I hear there is a famous Kulthum, who is a famous Egyptian singer. She was the goddess of classical Arabic singing. And it's so beautiful, but when I translated intellectually, the words are very, they are not that great.
And so, Nonie, therefore, perhaps the Arabic language itself, the linguistics, does not equip the people speaking it to free themselves.
Absolutely. It's a handicap. Right now, the Arabic language, because the Islamists don't want to develop it, they don't want to grow with it. They want to keep it at the level of the 7th century. It's stifling growth. It's stifling psychological development. It's stifling progress.
Hmm.
And they cannot come up with an Arabic language dictionary that's equal to Webster's dictionary. And it's all because of the different dialects, the differences between what people speak and what people look up to, and it's totally so it's a chaos. And the chaos you see in Arab society today is largely because of the chaos in the language.
And the very notion of the individual cannot come out of incoherence.
Exactly.
Nonie, last 30 seconds, words of wisdom, please, before we depart. It can be about anything.
Yeah, actually, I'm very happy that finally many Arab intellectuals today are openly speaking about the Arab invasion and conquering of the whole region. Because when the Arabs conquered all these countries like Persia, Egypt, North Africa, Turkey, Syria, all these areas that originally didn't speak Arabic, they stifled the normal growth of the language of that, and it's handicapping. And there's a lot of intellectuals today, Egyptians even, who are openly acknowledging the impact of the Arab invasion of the region.
Wow.
And it's not the occupation. The reason Arabs are so paranoid about occupation of the West is because they look at themselves as only we can occupy. Only Arab can be enforced on others. But they cannot occupy us. So the occupation is a language occupation, it's a religious occupation, and it's an Arab culture occupation through Sharia.
Nonie Darwish, we need another 20 episodes. So much wisdom and information. Thank you very much. Nonie, I just want to say on a personal level, coming from a family of Russian dissidents, people that put their lives on the line for freedom, that face so many threats, and I feel that when I'm with you, I'm always in the presence of such a great person, very brave, and saying things that almost no one today, aside from a few, dare to say. Thank you for standing up for the freedom and for the truth.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
We'll see you next week on the Glazov Gang.